When I finished the movie and I looked at it, I realized that the movie began to pick up speed, or needed to pick up speed, when Anakin and Padme landed on Geonosis and was ready to find Obi-Wan.
There's a cut version of Star Wars where Padme founds the rebellion, Chewie rips a man's arm clean off, and a swamp oracle guards Vader's secrets. All filmed, all deleted. Quick ground rule first, because the internet loves a fake Star Wars deleted scene. Half the clips out there are fan edits, AI fakes, or stuff somebody invented on a forum. We're not touching those. Every scene here was actually filmed and cut, or officially confirmed by the people who made it, and we ranked them by one thing: how much they would have rewritten the saga you grew up with. The deeper we go, the bigger it gets. And number 1 is the scene fans still can't stop arguing about. Number 15 takes us all the way back to 1977. The original Star Wars actually filmed a whole stretch on Tatooine, where Luke isn't some lonely farm boy. He races into town, hangs with his childhood friends, and reunites with his older buddy Biggs Darklighter, who quietly admits he's defecting from the Empire to join the rebellion. "I won't be drafted into the Imperial Starfleet," he tells Luke. George Lucas cut it all to keep us following the droids for the first half hour. But here's the gut punch. Biggs dies in the Death Star trench run later in that same movie. And because of this cut, most of us had no idea who he even was. Number 14, and this one finally pays off a 40-year-old joke. In The Force Awakens, the junk boss Unkar Plutt tracks Rey down at Maz's castle and corners her. Before he can pull a weapon, Chewbacca grabs him and rips his entire arm out of the socket, then tosses it across the floor. Remember the very first movie, when Han warns that Wookiees pull people's arms out when they lose? They actually filmed it. J.J. Abrams cut it for being a little too gory for the moment. But honestly, Chewie earned that. Let the Wookiee win. Number 13. The Han Solo movie filmed a scene that explains one of the great mysteries of his backstory. How does the galaxy's best pilot end up a mud-soaked infantry grunt? Turns out young Han enlists in the Imperial Flight Academy and washes out. Reckless flying, zero respect for authority, mouthing off to his superiors. So they kick him out of the cockpit and into the trenches. Ron Howard cut it to speed up the opening. But it's the missing link in Han's whole arc. The exact moment the hotshot pilot curdles into the cynical smuggler we love. He was always just too Han Solo for the Empire. Number 12 is genuinely bizarre. In The Phantom Menace, right after Anakin wins the pod race, a young Rodian kid, yeah, that's Greedo, accuses him of cheating. And 9-year-old Anakin just snaps, tackling the kid and wailing on him until Qui-Gon hauls him off. Lucas cut it because he wanted us to see Anakin as a sweet, innocent boy whose darkness only surfaces as an adult. Leave it in though, and the whole Chosen One story flips. The rage that becomes Vader was there from the start, wired into a little kid. Also, yes, Anakin and Greedo had beef decades before that cantina. Number 11. Return of the Jedi originally opened with a quiet, almost sacred moment. In a cave on Tatooine, a hooded Luke carefully finishes building his own lightsaber and ignites that green blade for the very first time. At the same moment, across the galaxy, Vader reaches out through the Force to call to his son. Lucas cut it so the movie could slam straight into the Jabba's palace rescue, and to save the green blade reveal for the big Sarlacc fight. But this scene matters. It's Luke officially graduating to Jedi Knight, building his weapon like a rite of passage. And it plants the psychic father-son link way earlier than the film ever lets on. Number 10 fixes the single most confusing thing about the sequels. People constantly ask, wait, what even is the Resistance? And how is it different from the actual Republic? The Force Awakens filmed the answer. Leia sends a trusted young envoy, Corcella, to beg the Senate to take the First Order seriously, and spells out that the Senate already sees Leia as a paranoid warmonger, the whole political map laid out in one scene. They cut it to save Leia's big entrance for later. But it means the planets that get blown up minutes afterward aren't just a faceless explosion. That envoy was standing right there. They erased the one scene that made the geopolitics make sense. Number 9. Attack of the Clones filmed a tense little scene where Count Dooku visits a captured Padmé in her cell and tries to recruit her. And he's weirdly convincing. He argues the Republic is hopelessly corrupt. It can't be fixed, he says. It's time to start over. Lucas swapped it out so Dooku could interrogate Obi-Wan instead and keep the focus on the Sith. But this version is so much richer. It paints the Separatists not as cartoon villains, but as dissidents with an actual point. Suddenly, the war that kicks off the whole tragedy has two sides, and Padme knows it. Number 8 shows you just how much a movie can change after it's supposedly done. Rogue One went through massive reshoots, and the original third act was totally different. In that first version, Jyn and Cassian sprint across the open beaches of Scarif, clutching the Death Star plans, dodging walker fire in a chaotic, all-out infantry war. And the transmission tower was a whole separate building from the data vault. Tony Gilroy came in and rebuilt the entire climax, cramming everything into one tower. It tightened the action. And it's why the team gets those quiet, devastating goodbyes instead of dying in the middle of a war zone. Two completely different endings for the same film. If you're the kind of person who finishes a movie and immediately goes hunting for the deleted scenes, you're our people. Hit subscribe. We do this to a different franchise every week. Okay, number 7, and now it gets brutal. Number 7 gives fans the Phasma they were actually promised. Captain Phasma was hyped as this terrifying chrome stormtrooper boss, and then she did basically nothing. But there's a deleted version where Finn corners her helmet cracked off, and tells her own troopers the truth. She lowered the shields on Starkiller Base to save her own skin. As the troopers freeze, realizing their commander is a traitor, Phasma calmly guns down all 6 of her own men to bury the secret, then lunges at Finn. It turns her from a wasted character into a genuinely chilling coward, and it hands Finn a real victory. He beats her with the truth before he ever throws a punch. Number 6 is an opening so dark they never even filmed it. One early plan for The Force Awakens had the camera, right after the crawl, drift down not to a giant star destroyer, but to a severed human hand, still gripping a blue lightsaber, tumbling through space. It burns through a planet's atmosphere and lands in the sand of Jakku. And that hand? It's supposed to be Luke's, cut off back in Empire. Abrams reportedly ditched it for being way too grotesque for a big nostalgic comeback. But think about it. Every Saga film opens by panning to a spaceship. Opening on Luke's rotting hand instead would have told you instantly. This trilogy is going somewhere much weirder and darker. Number 5 quietly humanizes the bad guys. In Return of the Jedi, the Death Star commander Moff Jerjerrod got 2 deleted beats. In one, he physically blocks Vader from the Emperor's throne room, leading to a tense standoff with the royal guards. In the other, during the climax, Palpatine orders him to fire on the forest moon, and Jerjerrod hesitates because there are still thousands of his own troops down there. They cut it to keep the Empire as clean, simple, faceless evil. But that flicker of doubt, an Imperial officer horrified at killing his own people, is basically the entire emotional engine of the grittier, grayer Star Wars stories we'd get decades later. They had it in 1983 and let it go. Number 4. The Rise of Skywalker built a real monster almost nobody has seen. In the original opening, Kylo Ren hunts for a path to Vader's secrets and reaches a boiling lake, where a massive blind giant rises out of the water, its head steered by a creepy little spider creature perched on its skull. This oracle, the Eye of Webbish Bog, warns Kylo he'll have to face his true self before it gives up the map to Vader's hideout. And it was real, a full practical animatronic, built and shot on location. Abrams cut it to speed up the opening, but it made Kylo earn Vader's secrets through an actual dark side trial instead of just finding them. Pure old-school Star Wars weirdness, gone. Number 3 might be the most important deleted scene in all of Star Wars. Revenge of the Sith filmed an entire subplot where Padme, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and a group of senators secretly band together against Palpatine's power grab, literally drafting the petition that seeds the Rebel Alliance. And Padme's terrified, because she's hiding all of it from Anakin, who's getting closer to Palpatine by the day. Lucas cut the whole thing to stay locked on Anakin's fall. But without it, Padme spends the 3rd movie crying in an apartment. With it, she's the founding mother of the rebellion, and Anakin's paranoia that she's secretly working against him suddenly isn't crazy. It's true. Number 2 is just 2 minutes of a man grieving. After Rey tells Luke that Han Solo is dead, killed by his own son, there's a deleted scene where Luke walks alone into his stone hut, sits in the dark, and quietly breaks down for his oldest friend. That's it. No dialogue, just grief. They cut it to hurry along to the next big set piece, and Mark Hamill has openly said he wishes it had stayed. Because one of the loudest complaints about the sequels is that the legacy characters never seem to actually feel anything for each other. This tiny moment fixes that completely. It proves that under all of Luke's bitterness, the heart is still fully there. And number 1, the scene people still argue about to this day. On the island, Rey spots boats of what look like raiders hitting the caretaker village and moves to help. Luke stops her. A true Jedi would do nothing and let the Force balance itself. Rey ignores him, charges down with her saber lit, and finds out it's just a party. Then Luke makes his real point. The galaxy doesn't need some old failed husk of a religion. It needs people who actually act. They cut it for pacing. But this is the whole thesis of the divisive modern era in a single scene. Luke's full case against the Jedi he once believed in, and the exact moment Rey decides to reject his cynicism and go save her friends anyway. Leave it in, and a lot of the arguments about these movies look really different. So here's the question we actually want you to fight about down in the comments. Out of all 15, which one should they have left in? Are you team give Padme her rebellion, team let Luke grieve, or do you think Lucas and the rest were right to cut every single one? Pick your hill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.